Hello, welcome to our live show. This is our live show. This is our Clockwork Princess live show. Welcome, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for reading with us if you did this month. And we finally got to the finale of our first trilogy, which is so exciting. It's our first finale in our book club, and there's quite a few more to come. But the first one feels like quite an accomplishment. So, hello, thank you. My name is Laia, and this is my co-host, Bianca.
Hi, thanks for joining us. And wow, I have a script, but yeah, my brain's not braining today. Thank you for all of the participation on Instagram, especially this month. We had quite a lot of interactions. I try to have more like sticker things in the stories. I don't know if you noticed. But just to let everyone know, this book club and live show is a safe space and everyone is welcome here. And we also expect everybody, namely Graham, to be respectful and kind.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Okay, so let's just get on with it. Clockwork. My thing still says Clockwork Prince. Okay, general thoughts for Clockwork Princess. Why don't you go first?
Okay. So this is my second time reading this book, and I thought it was a lot more interesting the second time round, and I think it was because I cared more this time. And I really loved seeing some of the other character relationships develop, because I think the first time I read it, I was really focused on Tessa and Will, because at the time Will was like that toxic teenager that I was.
Heartthrob.
Yeah, I was like rooting for the Herondales.
Still
But
though.
yes, still. But this time I appreciated the other relationships a lot more and all of the side characters. I loved seeing Cecily and the Lightwoods.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Gabriel just went complete 180 in this book though, which was interesting. Oh, and I also think she really paced the character introductions really well throughout the trilogy. Like, she didn't introduce all of them in the first book. We got to meet a few of them along the way, and I forgot that completely.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were all kind of there in the first book, but they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
And I also totally forgot that Cecily was there because she wanted to bring Will home. Like, that was her like main purpose to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that she ended up really loving being a shadow hunter and wanting to stay. I also love the sibling relationships that we got, which is what I was craving during this series, especially because of how disappointing Tessa's brother was on many levels. Yeah, Cecily and Will were super cute and like protective of each other, and even though they fought, you could still see how much they loved each other.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love
then
this. They like sibling relationship and also like the dynamic between them.
yeah, me too. They're so cute. And also this time it clicked in my brain that Cecily has dark hair, because before I was imagining her with light hair for some reason, like a brownie color, but she has like black hair,
Mm-hmm.
like Will. So this time that was more cemented in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And they even like talk in Welsh, which was really cute. And like, it's also something my sister and I do. Like, we obviously don't speak in Welsh, but we speak in Afrikaans sometimes when when
That
we're
would be
in
interesting.
yeah. And then it's an interesting thing to happen, because then you kind of like show the world your little like bubble, and then there's always one sibling that's like, speak English please, so that the rest of the people can understand. You're being rude.
I feel like I'm always that person. Always trying to speak the right language so everyone can understand.
Yeah. And I wrote here, not Gabriel making me cry, OMG. So there was,
Gabriel.
yes.
At which part?
I'm trying to remember because I wrote this while I was reading, and I was like, okay, I need to make note that this event
Mm-hmm.
happened.
It's probably when they killed his father.
No, it wasn't even then. It was like later. I think it's um, when he told Charlotte what happened
Mm-hmm.
and how he apologized and stuff, and also like the moment before when Charlotte actually like comforted him. Those two moments,
Mm-hmm. That was
and
really, really cute.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I started crying. And then Cecily's letter home to her parents as well, that really made me cry, where she said
Mm-hmm.
how she was grateful that their parents gave them the choice about whether they want to be shadow hunters or not, because all of the other shadow hunters did not get a choice. They just were pretty much forced into it, whether
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to or not. And they saw how that affected Jessamine. Um, and yeah, it was quite sad.
Mm-hmm.
I also noticed a couple of things. That the Herondale star mark comes from ethereal, which I didn't notice before. So that was cool to see. And then in regard to the sequel series, The Last Hours, there was a whole chapter called Last Hours, and it had a lot more quotes that was like relevant to that series. I don't know if you picked up on that. Yeah.
I tend to not read chapter names.
Oh, I
Like,
love the chapter.
I just, I don't do it on purpose. I just
Yeah,
don't read them. I don't know. I just like immediately start with the chapter.
that's fair. I do
Mm-hmm.
that when I read like slides from uni, and then I realize I should actually read the title, so I know what I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those were my general thoughts. Kind of chaotic. Yeah.
Okay, well, oh, that's good. Okay, so for me, I the first thing I wrote was that I didn't find the book boring. Like it was exciting and entertaining, um, and engaging, like the whole way through from the beginning, because we literally start the book with all of them going to slay the big worm who is Gideon and Gabriel's father who turned into a worm. And we literally start the book with that. And I didn't even expect that. I thought that would happen way later. But then we did start, and like just from the beginning, there were things happening all the time. And I just remembered you mentioning um, in the last live show, you said if the book's boring in the beginning, just stick through it because it's so worth it. And like that just stuck in my head. And then I was like, okay, but this isn't boring. Like it wasn't boring at all throughout the whole thing. So that was very interesting because once upon a time, we both DNF'd. So it was cool to
Yeah.
see that it
Yeah.
wasn't actually boring this time. I don't know, maybe we're more invested. Maybe it's because we are reading it the way we are reading it in publication order, which makes a difference. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it has to do with that. And I think I mentioned somewhere later, um, in my notes, because I wrote something like 10 minutes ago. Um, so we'll probably get to that soon,
Mm,
about that and about
okay.
like, yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
But yeah, I agree. It was
Mhm.
definitely more interesting the second time around.
Mhm. Well, no, it was second. It was second. I was like, have I read this 3 times? No, it was second. Okay. Ooh. And then I just wrote down like a few things. Like we see how church ends up in New York, because I think we did speak about it. Like how did church end up in New York? But we see now that Magnus actually takes church after Jem dies. Obviously, there's no one for church to stay with, so Magnus takes church to New York because he said he's going to New York. It's like the new world. So we know how Church ends up there because Church ends up in the New York Institute, and he's in the New York Institute in the Mortal Instruments. Then I also wrote that we see how the Herondales get their star mark on their skin, because that's obviously been playing a role in the whole story so far. And someone did say that, I can't remember who, that they got it from an angel. And now we actually see how they got it from an angel, which is pretty cool. It's pretty funny how they got it.
Yeah. I actually
hmm
feel really sad for Ethereal though, because this poor angel has just gone through it
Yes.
in both
Um,
series.
hmm And the last thing I wrote was that the grieving process after Jem died seemed very real and very raw and very genuine, and everything didn't just go back to normal completely. They didn't go back to their lives. They didn't just fix everything. Like, there was a real genuine. Am I on mute?
No, you're fine.
Okay, I thought she pressed it. Um, there was a whole, like, a genuine grieving process that they needed to get through and come out the other side before Will and Tessa decided to be together. And when Will said he wanted to be with Tessa, Tessa said no, like, you need to be on your own now. You need to grieve. You need to get through this. And then they only got together again after they were a bit better, like
Yeah.
doing a bit better. And I really like that because I feel like many books just skip over the grieving process, and I really liked how this really showed that.
Mm. And it also showed a lot of her grief in the epilogue about Will and like how it stuck with her over like 100 years plus. So yeah,
130.
yes, 130. I
Yeah.
also really want a pearl bracelet now. So there we go.
Only you. um yes, okay, I guess that's all the general thoughts. It was such a fully packed book. I feel like we should have had more thoughts, but
Yeah, it was.
okay. Do you have a favorite part?
I mentioned a couple of things that made me happy, and then I will also say my ultimate favorite part. Um, so one thing that I mentioned was Gideon and Gabriel's correspondence with, was it the Inquisitor or whatever, like those
At the
later,
console.
that guy who I can't
hmm
like keep their titles straight in
Oh,
my head. I can't. I don't know why.
it's just the console who's like the main, and then the Inquisitor who's under him.
Okay, if you say so. Like my brain just doesn't stick because there's not like a clear like hierarchy in my mind for whatever reason. I don't know. So I'm just like, oh, that guy, whatever, him and that guy. Okay, cool. One sucks, the other one doesn't. Um,
Lucy.
but yeah, the letters that they wrote
And now I
really
should be. Wait.
okay. They were really, really funny, and I don't remember them being that funny, but I actually laughed out loud. Um, I also mentioned the sibling relationships again because they really did make me happy a lot in the book. Um, and then we got to see Sophie's ascension. That was really cool. I don't remember that at all, and that was really, really cool that we get to see that.
Yes,
Um,
that was. I love that. I found it so, like, weird that her name was Sophia. I don't know why. It doesn't suit her. Sophia.
um, I just don't get like why you'd go from Sophia and Sophia's the nickname because
I
it's like
know,
literally
because they're so, but
numbers.
there's like one letter difference, but they feel like completely different names.
Yeah, it's weird.
Okay, just hang on. I'm just gonna let her out quickly. Okay,
Okay.
that's gonna make all our lives easier. Hello.
Oh,
Okay, you can carry on. Sorry about that.
that's okay. Oh, I got a hiccup. And then my like favorite part of the book was the epilogue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and like the epilogue is why I love the trilogy to begin with. So yeah,
You have to wait all the way for the very end of the very last book for the whole reason to love the trilogy.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And then
Um,
you just love it from
mhm,
the beginning
mhm,
after reading it.
exactly. My favorite part of the book was the epilogue. That's what I wrote. I just loved it so much, and now after like coming out of the book, like after reading the book, it's the only part I remember.
Okay.
Because like if you mention something, I'm like, oh yes, but afterwards it's like such an amazing epilogue that it kind of just overshadows everything else.
Yeah, it kind of does. And you, like I remember the worm thing happening, but I always thought it happened like in the previous book for some reason
Hmm.
because all I remembered about book 3 was that it was boring for me up until the epilogue. I didn't care up until the end because I was just like
Hmm.
I was like, oh, they're just gonna drag it out, and she's gonna be with Will anyway. So why are we doing any of the in between parts? Just get to the point. But
Yeah,
then it ended
no,
up being totally different. So
just hang on. Sorry.
it's okay.
Um. Anyway, yes, the epilogue is my favorite for many reasons. For like every single part of it. There's not like one part of the epilogue. It's like the whole epilogue.
Me too.
Hmm.
I got
Okay,
really emotional as well.
I know, me too. Not like really emotional, but let's just say I didn't cry, but you know when you want to cry, I felt like
Yeah, I
that.
was like feeling in my throat.
But
I
there
was
was
like,
like no actual crying this time. Okay, do you have a least favorite part or a criticism?
um. So I wrote here. I didn't really make note of least favorites, and in past reads, I felt like the book really dragged in terms of pacing, but I don't think so, or didn't think so during this reread. So I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know anything bad to say.
Yes, that's true. It the pacing was better. I remember very much complaining about the last book about how slow it went, but this one's pacing was better.
Yeah, agreed.
Hmm. So my least favorite part was the consul and his selfishness and how he treated Charlotte, and I just hated him. He was so annoying. Oh my goodness, like he just couldn't handle that someone else was in charge and he wasn't,
Yeah, and the
and
fact that he
making
wanted
decisions.
to kill her because she was a woman.
Hmm. I just hated him, and I'm sorry to say it, but he deserved what he got in the end.
Yeah. Ugh, Lila wants to leave now.
Okay, it's a dog-filled episode or live show.
She is sleeping on my lap. Oh, please.
You just see this head.
Oh, say hello. Okay, later. BRB. Yeah, I can't. Okay, bye. Bye. Okay, ready to go.
Mm, okay. Anyway, yes. So the console, very
Mhm.
much annoying. Okay, then we have not thinking questions. We have questions.
About to say that was really quick.
Yes, that was a bit too quick. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and read the first question. So, did you sympathize with Gideon and Gabriel, and do you think they deserve to be in the Institute after what they did to Charlotte?
Um, I wrote, I don't really think they did anything to Charlotte. What did they do to Charlotte that you were
In the
referring to?
previous book, Gabriel sided with his dad and believed Charlotte shouldn't be the head of the Institute. And throughout this whole book, they were mentioning what these boys did to Charlotte and how they treated her. Like they just were treated her very badly in the previous book.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like that was a long time ago during months that I don't recall. um,
Okay.
but yeah, no. I felt sorry for them, and I did like I don't know. I felt bad that they had to learn that their father isn't a good person, which is really hard for anyone to do. And to be able to get to the point where you disagree with your family's values is a lot and it's hard. And also, their dad died, and Gabriel was kind of part of that battle. And he keeps saying about how he killed his father, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really messed up and really, really difficult to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they're also really young. I can't remember exactly how old they are, but I'm sure Gabriel's as old as Will, and that's what, like 17. So yeah, that's really a lot for teenagers to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I do think they deserve to be in the institute because the institute is a haven for shadow hunters and especially young shadow hunters. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and
Oh
like
my goodness, now Lucy is scratching at my door to come in again. Anyway, yes, I think that, like, obviously I sympathize with them. Obviously, I felt sorry for them because they've been through a lot. And both of them, not even only Gabriel, but both of them.
yeah.
And I feel like it said so much about Charlotte as a person and her values and who she is. And it just showed that she really deserved to be the head of the Institute. She deserved to get her role as the consul later on. And it just really made us realize what a good person she is. What is the dog scratching at your door? We're having the same issues right now.
Um, Inappropriate moment to laugh. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
agree with that as well. And Charlotte's kind of our age, isn't she? Like 23, 24, 5, round about there.
I think she was 23 in the last book. So she must
Yeah,
probably still be 23.
yeah. So, as someone around that age, being around teenagers, you can really see how young they are. When you're that age, you don't feel that young, but as an older
Mm-hmm.
person, they are so young and such babies, and you can just see them making mistakes. And most of the time, they're pretty hilarious, and you kind of have to take what they have to say with whatever mood they're going through as well, because their hormones are still giving them a
Mm-hmm.
lot of trouble. Um, so that definitely would play a role in my older brain. So
Mm-hmm. True.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, do you want to read the next question?
sure. What are your overall thoughts on the trilogy?
Mm. Okay, so obviously the first time I read this, I found it really boring. I didn't like it. I didn't like that it was historical fiction because I really dislike historical fiction. I really don't like it. Really not my thing. This time I still didn't like the whole clockwork aspect, but I didn't hate it as much as I used to. And overall, I'm just in love with these characters. I just love them so much. They just crawl into your heart in a way that many other characters don't. So, and overall, I think the trilogy itself was a bit slow paced, but mainly because of the second book.
Okay. Yeah, I really enjoyed revisiting the characters, and I feel like Cassie wrote that trilogy with the ending in mind. Like, she knew how it was going to end. So I think that may have affected her writing. And oh, Jesus. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to give a break again. I'm going to open the door now after letting her out. Okay.
Have a small doggy break so we can just sort out our animals. End of intermission.
Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's just.
Anyway.
Oh, it's never been this bad with the dogs. Normally they're okay.
Must be a full moon or something.
There must be something happening. Okay. Anyway.
Anyway,
Okay.
like
Who did you give your thoughts?
I was still busy.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so like I was saying, I think she wrote it with the epilogue in mind, and I think that might be why they're difficult to get into without the motivation of the epilogue keeping you there. For first-time readers, especially. So it's quite sad. But overall, I also really enjoyed having two literary main characters, and it made me really want to read some of the books that they reference when talking to each other. There was also some quotes that I was like, this is peak. It was just really good, like bookish quotes that spoke to my soul. And I also generally enjoy historical fiction because to me, there's just something magical about the past and the different style of language I really love, and the aesthetic as well. So, yeah.
I feel like Cassie Clare always writes her books with all the other books in mind. Like
Yeah.
I feel like she wrote this book with like the lost hours in mind. You know, she always has everything else in mind. So nothing is an accident.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we're that meme of the guy with like the board and the like things connecting, and he's just like with that right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Your turn. My turn. Who is your favorite character after finishing the trilogy?
I don't know if I really pick favorites anymore. I used to when I was younger, but I really liked Jem a lot more after this trilogy specifically. He went through so much and he sacrificed so much, and I just he's just like a cinnamon roll, and he's always been like the sweetest person, and I loved him so much this time. Um and I love that he finally gets his happy ending.
I know the way he reacted when he found out Will and Tessa were in love with each other just like broke my heart. Like he wasn't even mad. He's like, if I knew that, I would never have asked her to marry me. And oh, I don't know. It was so cute.
Yeah. And to think last time I was just like Will, and I didn't care about Jem, and I don't know why, but this time I'm just like, baby. I think it also had to do with the fact that, like, the whole story, there was this thing where he's gonna die. Like, that was just kind of his fate the whole time, and they kept bringing it up over and over. So I didn't want to get attached to him, but then knowing later that he actually lives, a really long time and gets to have his happy ending, I was like, okay, now I can get attached because there's no like
Mm.
risk of me getting stabbed by him actually
I know,
dying.
but how sad was it? Those like few chapters where we did think he
Yeah.
died. Like obviously we knew because we've read this before, but like if you didn't know, and even when they, like the characters, thought he was dead, it was so sad.
And like
Especially
the ugh,
when
when
Will,
Will Parabatai rune and he like throws up and oh
yeah, when Will felt it, that was horrible.
it was bad.
Okay, so my favorite character, I don't know, it's so hard. Like I really like Cecily. I like her as a character and her personality, but then I also really like Jem and I like Will's humor.
Mhm.
And I mean, I don't like Tessa as much in this trilogy, which is weird because this is the one where she's the main character, but I love her in the other books. So that's kind of weird. And
Mm.
even in the epilogue you see that later part of her, and I like her in the future more. Like even in the epilogue I like her more than in the rest of the books. It's like she just becomes a different person kind of.
Mm. There is a like a real distinct difference between like Tessa before she kind of knows who she is, and then after like going through all of those years, and I
Hmm.
guess like immortality and experiencing the repercussions of immortality has an effect on you.
Hmm.
Um, and like Magnus as well, those characters really like draw you in for some reason.
Yes. Like obviously my answer could be Magnus, but he's not specific to this trilogy. That's why I didn't say him.
Mm.
But yes,
Yeah.
Magnus is my ultimate favorite and always will be. But I just don't think there's a bad character when it comes to the main characters. Like even Charlotte and Henry, like you love them, you know.
Yeah, you do. And I love that all the kids have ginger hair. It's so cute.
Oh,
Oh,
but I was
that's
gonna
good.
bring that up because they don't. No, but
Oh,
I'll bring that up later. I'll bring it
okay.
up. Or should I bring it up
But
now? I can bring it up now. I actually took a picture of this quote. So it's like in the epilogue where it says Sunlight and her and Will's children, their grandchildren, their nieces and nephews. Cecily's blue-eyed boys, tall and handsome. Cecily does not have two-eyed boys. Cecily is Anna's mother.
maybe Anna later decides to not be a girl.
No, Anna stays a girl. We know that. Anyway, I just think that she wrote this line without knowing the future books. I just said she writes everything knowing the future books, but this line, because it also says Gideon and Sophie's two girls. And yes, Gideon and Sophie has two girls, but they also have a boy. So, yeah, I just.
Maybe she wrote it like before it was like fully fleshed out, and she knew she wanted
Mhm.
to
And then
continue.
it says white-haired and upright, and the Fairchild sons and daughters with their curling red hair like Henry's had once been. They only have two boys. They don't have sons and daughters. They only have two boys, and their hair's not red. Both their hair's not red.
Okay. I don't really. Maybe it's because you have the book, or are they in that book that you have,
No,
or
but
do you?
I remember this from Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron, and you read them. Because
I
in
know
Chain of Gold
one
and
of
Chain and
them
Iron, we see all these characters'
blonde.
children, and they don't fit these descriptions. Because
Yeah.
Cecily is Anna's mother. She doesn't have two blue-eyed boys. And Sophie has two girls and a boy. And the Fairchilds don't have sons and daughters. They only have two sons, and they don't both have red hair. So, Anyway, I did
Interesting.
want to bring that up at some point, but
Okay.
mhm. Yes,
Yeah.
so that part
Mind.
was not did not fit the later series, the later books.
Maybe they changed it in different editions later on, but
Maybe, I don't know. Mhm.
anyway.
Mhm.
Next question.
Yep,
Okay.
you can read.
Did you see any connections between this book and the Mortal Instruments? Any foreshadowing for the Mortal Instruments finale?
Okay, so I have like a little list here. So the first thing is that you see Woolsey give Magnus a snuff box that Alec asked about, and we spoke about this in the previous live show where you spoke about the snuff box that Alec asked about, and now we see Woolsey giving it to him. And then another thing is the necklace. Remember, we had a whole like debate thing going on in the last thing about the necklace, and now we found out exactly what happened. So Magnus gave the necklace to Will,
Yep.
and then Will gave it to Cecily to protect her, and that's how Cecily has it. And remember, I was mentioning that Anna has it, and Anna is Cecily's daughter, so Cecily gave it to Anna.
Yeah. I also wrote those.
Okay, so I'm so glad we figured out that connection
Yeah.
now because we were really wondering about that. Because I was like, how did Anna get it? But now we see. Will, Magnus gave it to Will, Will to Cecily, Cecily to Anna. So Cecily does not have blue-eyed boy. She has Anna and a boy. Anna does
Yes.
have a brother. Um, and then the other thing I wrote was the angel that was trapped in Tessa's necklace was the same angel that Valentine had captured and trapped and imprisoned and used for his blood, and it's the angel in Tessa's necklace is the same angel that Clary and Jace's blood. They have that angel's blood.
Yeah.
Like where that angel blood comes from. Which is sad because that angel, Ethereal, has just gone through so much. Like they just can't get a break.
Yeah.
So I feel really, really sad for that
Me
angel.
too. Me too. Um.
Oh wait, I have one more. Um, oh, I just said the epilogue gives hints to the literal next book, but we're not gonna say. So Jem obviously comes back human in the epilogue, and
His
it's
brother Zachariah, which you find out like that's the shadow hunter that he is, and
yes, I know, but he becomes human in the literal next book we read. So it's kind of that's what's so interesting reading in publication order because you read that he has become human, and in the very next book you read, you know, you get to know how it happens.
yes, and then it also like pops into your head that he has been in the other books, and you don't realize until like that little
Hmm.
chunk at the end.
Hmm. Oh well,
So
I knew all the time, but that's only because I've read the books before.
yeah, and for
But other
people
people wouldn't realize,
experiencing
yes,
the
which is
first
pretty
time.
cool. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that all that you mentioned?
Yep.
Okay, I have a few to add on to that. They mentioned somewhere that Will got into a fight with Meliorn,
Mm-hmm.
so that was
No.
yeah, who's like Isabel's ex.
Yes, he's like a very prominent character, which I didn't even realize. He's in many of the books.
Yeah, he is. So that was interesting that
I don't think he's
that
technically Isabel's ex. I think Isabel thinks he is, but I don't think he actually is.
um and then there's also the like whole scene with Tessa, like she has heavenly fire in her body. And that's also what literally just happened to Jace in the previous book, is like they have heavenly fire in their body, and we still don't know right now what's going to happen to Jace. But
Yes. Now that you mention it, actually, Tessa's heavenly fire just left her body,
Mm.
whereas, yeah, I guess we'll see
Yeah.
what happens to
Also, it
James.
messed with my brain because I was like thinking of things that could have happened at the time because of the heavenly fire that was there, but then it didn't until 130 years later.
What? I really don't know what you're saying.
Okay, I can't say it because it's going to spoil the next book, but I'll tell you after.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and then there's also that whole scene with like Will and James' uncle and Cortana, and then we
Mhm.
see how that stays in the Carstairs family. Which I mean,
Mhm.
is that like linked to the Mortal Instruments? I'm pretty sure it is because it,
No, that's linked. No, that's linked to the
no,
Dark
but it is because
Artificers because it
they
becomes
show up.
Emma's.
No, but they show up in the next book. They start showing up, and they're like part of the next book.
Oh,
They
I
yeah,
don't remember that. Maybe
they're
we'll
like a
see.
whole
We'll
thing.
see. Mhm.
Um,
Because it does become Emma's sword
yeah,
eventually.
yeah, it does.
Mhm.
Um, so that's like linking all three together.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's all I mentioned really. Oh no, wait, one more. And we saw the Wild Hunt again was mentioned in the book.
Where?
I have no idea. I just wrote the Wild Hunt again with 4 exclamation marks. So, but it was there at some point.
I do. I think I do remember reading it. I just can't remember where or what the context was.
Yeah, these like some of my notes when I do that and I just like make the exclamations. It's because I'm like, crap, I'm gonna forget about it, so I need to write it down now. But I don't want to stop reading, so
Mhm. Mhm.
uh, should write more in future. Mental.
Yes. Okay, so what are your thoughts on the epilogue? Like, if we all know we love it.
Yes, I love it. And so much more happened in the epilogue than what I remember, because like the
Mhm.
bridge scene has a special place in my heart and my brain, and that's like what I
So we like
remember.
only remember the bridge scene. I know,
Yeah,
me
yeah,
too.
pretty much.
But then the epilogue was that whole had the whole part with Will dying, where she like
Yeah,
remembered back to that, and something I also really loved, which is so random, is that her outfit was described on the bridge. She was wearing jeans and boots and like some kind of cardigan or something. And I just love like the contrast between that and like what she used to wear.
yeah.
And then Jem showed up in jeans as well. It's just I love that. I don't know.
So cute. And I also just think it's one of the best epilogues ever, and she planned it so well.
Hmm.
And it's what made me fall in love with the characters properly, because I'm a sucker for a good happy ending, and that is a really
Hmm.
bittersweet but like a good ending, especially for the like love triangle thing. And this
Hmm.
one was more of a love triangle than in other books because all of them really care about each other. Whereas in other ones, it's like a big rivalry between.
It's a love corner.
Yeah, yeah, that thing. I also saw a post like that on Facebook or something the other day, and I was like, yeah, that's fair. um,
Hmm.
yeah.
Wait, just she has something in her mouth. What? Oh, okay. um, Now she's trying to go back for it. Okay. Yes. I think the epilogue made the whole trilogy worth it. It was like the epilogue of epilogues, and it only made me so excited to carry on with the rest of the series and carry on reading.
Me too. I'm ready.
And I also love the description of London, how London has changed, and then there was a certain bridge that wasn't there anymore, and it was such a different place to the one she knew, but their bridge was still there. So
Yeah,
I really like that.
yeah, it's good. And that bridge, doesn't Cassie say that that's where she got the idea for that story? Was when she stood
I
on
also
the
read
bridge?
that part.
Yeah,
I don't know if
so
she got the idea for the story, but she said something about she knew that she had to write a story there or something like that along those lines.
yeah.
Someone is getting impatient.
We're nearly done, Lucy. Um. Oh, can I share a quote as like a last thing
Of
before we
course.
round it up? Um. There's like this scene with Tessa and Will, and Tessa says, "You're a person just like me. Don't you see, Will? You're a person like me. You are like me. You say the things I think but never say out loud. You read the books I read. You love the poetry I love. You make me laugh with your ridiculous songs and the way you see the truth of everything. I feel like you can look inside me and see all the places I'm odd or unusual and fit your heart around them, for you are odd and unusual in just the same. We are the same."
Oh,
It's so
yes, I
cute.
love that. I love that.
Ugh, yeah.
Is that the only one you had?
Oh, actually, also the one that I posted on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
That one, I just felt like that was pretty meta.
Mm-hmm.
You taught me to love this book where I had scorned it. When I read it for the second time with an open mind and heart, and then they continue talking about some of the characters. And I think that's such a cool thing to happen is to read something or watch something for the first time and then not really like care about it or not like it and then change your mind based on somebody that you know and
Mm-hmm.
like their experience with it or like them showing you a different point of view
Mm-hmm.
and like really shows how books and media and everything can really like change depending on your mindset and the time when you read it and pretty much
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yes. I also love that that's like exactly what happened with us with this series.
Yeah.
Like I had loved it and then you didn't and then you read it again because of
Actually,
me and then
what actually happened was it was like a snowball of things because you only wanted me to read the Mortal Instruments and the Dark Artificers and you didn't care about the Infernal Devices because you'd also DNF'd it, and then
mm-hmm.
I read it in publication order because you wanted me to try the series again, and then I
Mm-hmm.
convinced you to read
Mm-hmm.
this.
Publication order, that's true.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
I was like, you have to do it because
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah.
I know. Oh, I'm like a tiny bit sad that we're only starting my favorite trilogy next year. I have
Mine
to wait
too.
so long. But my favorite book in the whole series is coming up. It's like in 2 books or something. The Bane
Brain
Chronicles.
particles, of
Mm,
course.
it's my
Yeah.
favorite, and it's coming up. So that's at least exciting.
Yeah.
Anyway, is that everything?
I think so.
Okay. Well then, I think I need to go. I have a very impatient little doggy. Wait, I want to take a photo of her. That was cute. Anyway, um, yes. Uh, thank you so much for joining us and for participating in the live show. Thank you for reading with us if you did. And we hope you are enjoying this series as much as we are and that you are enjoying reading in publication order as much as we are.
Yeah, way
And
better.
yes.
Um, so be sure to join us next month for City of Heavenly Fire. If you aren't following us yet, you can find us on Instagram, Goodreads and Twitter at the Parabatai BC to join in discussions and not miss any announcements. Thank you.
And you can join our Goodreads chat if you want to.
Oh, yeah.
Goodreads comments.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye. See you next time.